What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We got some news about HK-47 and Finn and Felon Basila and their reworks, and some problems we're having with certain characters in the reworks, so we've got quite a bit to talk about with this forum update from CGSB Crumb. So he starts off with, I want to clarify a few things about the rework of HK-47 and the changes coming to Fallen Basila Sean. In the case of HK, he will be receiving a rework in order to synergize with Darth Revan, but his current leader ability is very powerful and left as is could create some game-breaking teams with just a little synergy. This is primarily due to how early in the game's life cycle his kit was developed and he didn't account for all the fun and weird mechanics we would go on to add to the game. Currently, his leader ability limits the space we have to design new characters or improve existing ones that would synergize with HK-47. This leaves us with two choices. One, leave him as is, build characters that wouldn't interact with HK-47, which would leave an awesome fan favorite character to languish for eternity, or two, rework his current leader ability along with the rest of his kit. We think number two is the best option, and the changes to his abilities are significant enough that we will be resetting and returning all the ability materials that were used on HK-47's leadership ability. When it comes to reworks generally, we try to improve older characters and revitalize usefulness, but it's not as simple as improving a few stats. Often we have to rethink how this character fits into a game that has changed significantly. In most cases, we believe we have succeeded in making these improvements, examples Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. So when, in our judgment, we weren't able to improve or have changed the core identity of a character with a rework, our intention is to offer some kind of make good. This will come in the form of a Zeta refund or ability refund, Oldaka or HK-47 for example, or something entirely different. We will try to communicate these intentions at the time of the reworks announcement so that you can plan accordingly. So what they're talking about here is the leadership on HK-47. It's very powerful for your droid teams because it gives them a high crit chance boost, and then they also gain 50% turn meter when they score a critical hit. So your droids under HK-47 lead could use an AoE and then follow up with another attack, or they could have something where they have multiple AoE attacks and then they could just go over and over again. We've actually seen something similar like this with First Order in the past. If you may remember, when Crew first came out, his leadership ability gives that bonus turn meter to First Order allies when they score a critical hit, 20% turn meter, so they had to rework the AoE for the masked Kylo Ren, because he was able to score critical hits with it, and now they've changed that. So it can't critically hit and deals equal damage bonus to 50% of Kylo Ren's crit damage. So there was that problem, and they had to fix it because you could get this sort of infinite loop where Kylo Ren could use his AoE over and over and over, and that could cause a problem. We're seeing something similar here with HK-47, where if you have a heavy AoE team of droids, you could potentially just go over and over at the beginning of the match and wipe out the enemy team before they really have the chance to move. So there was a problem with that, and that was actually one of the better leadership and one of the more powerful things for early on in the game. If you guys may remember, we used to have a droid meta which involved HK-47, Jawa Engineer, and then a bunch of droids who could do AoEs or assists, so IG-88 and 86. There was a lot of potential with droids early on, and they were a great meta team because they could go fast, score a lot of critical hits, and wipe out the enemy team. And that is when we got Rex, and Rex was a really great counter. But then Rex is another character we're having with that same problem, where whenever someone on his team gets critically hit, it gives the whole team bonus turn meter. So there are some problems with that overall. So they are having to rework the HK-47 leadership here. And yeah, at the same time, this is gonna suck because one of my favorite trio teams for Grand Arena was HK with R2-D2 and BB-8. There's a lot of bonus crit chance there. BB-8 could counter and then call R2-D2 to assist, and they could both score critical hits, and R2-D2 could stun with the tenacity down from BB-8. It was a very strong team, and I absolutely enjoyed using it. So I'm kind of worried that I'm worried that I'm going to lose that team. So I'm not too pleased about that. There's a lot of people I know who aren't going to be thrilled about this, and they've said before in the past that the changes to HK-47 wouldn't make or break the droid meta, and at least I personally took that to mean that they were going to leave the leadership alone for the most part. But it looks like they're going to be completely scrapping it, so hopefully whatever they put in place of leadership for HK-47, it's going to be good, because I don't want to lose one of my most powerful trio teams. That team was... It's easily to underestimate that team, and it could get a lot of solid holds and trios for defense. So, probably not going to be able to use that team anymore, but I'm hoping that whatever they do with Droids and HK-47, that he's still going to be a solid lead for those droids. Now, we're going to move on to Fallen Bastila Shan. There's not so much about her, but, just going a little bit of detail with her. The changes to Fallen Bastila Shan are fairly minor in comparison to HK-47, but are also intended to improve her synergy in a Darth Revan team. Bastila will have a new unique, and we are adding the new Fear debuff to one of her special abilities. Now, Fear, if you guys may remember from the newsletter, with the announcement of Darth Revan. Well, let me claim my daily rewards. I haven't logged in yet. Ooh, ship energy pack. If you guys may remember, there you go. So there's gonna be some kind of new debuff with Darth Revan called Fear, and it looks like Fallen Bastila is also gonna be able to apply that Fear debuff. So we do have that. It's going to be attached to one of her special abilities. If I was a betting man, I would say it's probably going to be on the ability that is called Fear. But, I mean, that's just, I know it's a crazy guess that the ability called Fear is going to have the Fear debuff attached to it. The Mad Lad. So, we are going to see her be able to apply a Fear debuff along with Darth Revan. So there is some synergy there. It's not really going to be a huge rework. He says these minor changes were made to align her with Darth Revan's release, don't actually constitute a rework in the traditional sense, but rather highlight the bond between these two characters by introducing more synergies. So Fear with her debuff, the debuff Fear, and then she's going to have that along with Darth Revan. We'll probably see some kind of bonuses that she and Darth Revan are going to have somewhere, so we do have that. Now, the big thing to talk about here is Huckleberry Finn. As Crumb says here, we can't talk about reworks and not mention what's happening to the Zeta Finn. We are still investigating the rework to his leadership ability to prevent infinite loops. We had shared a possible solution previously, but while the changes Top Hat discussed prevented infinite loops in Phase 3, in further testing we realized it inadvertently added a new trivializing loop to Phase 1, so we're taking another pass at solving this interaction. We apologize this fix is taking longer than expected, but we are hoping to have an update that we can share soon. Now, he's going to go on a little bit more and talk about the compensation for the Zetas, which has been a hot topic. I didn't mention any compensation specifically for Finn because we found additional issues. We will evaluate his refund status once we know how we intend to fix him. In short, it's not off the table, but we will decide once we know the scope of the changes. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Finn absolutely needs a Zeta rework, or a Zeta refund. No matter what, because you guys are changing his leadership at all, it absolutely constitutes a Zeta refund. So, they have to refund his Zeta no matter what. I get they're saying that it's going to be more powerful in the end, but at the same time, it's changing the leadership. People only used Finn for the raids, and his raid functionality, while it's still going to be powerful, is not going to be as good. Absolutely, 100%. He needs to have a refund on his Zeta. There should be no discussion or controversy about this. He has to have a Zeta refund. So the problem with Zeta Finn, and this is hilarious because I had heard from some people that they were actually able to solo Phase 1 with the new Zeta Finn, and I figured once I heard that, it was absolutely going to be nerfed. And the big problem is more than likely going to be his takedown ability. Now with the rework, it's going to gain stacking 60% bonus damage every time he uses it on the same target, double to raid bosses, so 120% every time he uses it on a raid boss. And I can bet you dollars to donuts, that is going to get stacked. I would see it getting stacked at 10, 15 stacks probably. Maybe they'll knock down that bonus damage a little bit. But 120% constantly stacking with his ability, you're talking absurd amounts of damage. And I loved the ability that he was going to do like millions of damage at once with takedown. But I can see why it was going to get nerfed. If you threw him in a JTR team with the JTR lead, if they don't have any debuffs and use a special, then his takedown is a 2-turn cooldown and would automatically get the cooldown reduced by 1 because of the JTR lead. So they, yeah. If the Resistance ally has no debuffs, reduce their cooldowns by 1. Takedown has a 2-turn cooldown on it. That means that you could pretty much spam Takedown over and over again with that JTR lead, and you could get stupid amounts of damage with the Finn. And yeah, I mean, it was not really surprising to find out that it could solo phase 1. Yeah, I would expect more than anything with his rework, have takedown be capped at a certain amount of damage, and his basic, it also stacks damage every time he uses it. I would also expect to see a cap on that too. So he's not going to deal the stupid amounts of damage we were expecting. That kind of cools me off a little bit on his rework. I was kind of excited about his rework because of the stacking damage of takedown and crack shot. It would cause him to do a ton of damage, and I was super excited to see that in action. But we are more than likely not going to see him do stupid amounts of damage. He can still do some decent damage, but it's not going to be what we were expecting before. So Finn is taking longer to rework than expected, and you know, this does bring up the question, why didn't they just add stacking tenacity to Darth Traya in phase 3 when she's toppled? And we're going to go back to this over and over again. I have a feeling we're going to have this conversation a lot. And you know, that would have been the simplest rework for CG to do. I expected them to just do that instead of this whole rework and overhaul for Finn. And you know, I think that at the end of the day, it would have been a very easy fix for them to just add stacking tenacity to Traya when she's toppled. That way you can't have the infinite loop with Finn, though you do have that infinite loop now with CLS and 3PO, but we'll talk about that another time. So I kind of wish they had added the stacking tenacity, but at the same time, the fact that they're making Finn overall a better character, because right now as it is, you only have Finn in for his leadership. I mean, he does have some exposes, and he can heal and taunt with Poe, so he does have some synergies there, but the main reason you're bringing him in is because of his leadership ability. So the fact that they're rounding him out a bit more and not just making him a walking, talking leadership ability, that is great, and I get what they're going for here. And I think also it should bring up the fact that the Sith raid, it's mechanically it's complicated. You know, I talked about this way back when the Sith raid first came out, and how they were nerfing exposed damage with JTR teams and stuff. And I had talked about at the time that it wasn't that JTR was smothering other teams. It was the fact that the overall complicated mechanics of the Sith raid were what was smothering other teams, not JTR. So I do think that while they want to make the Sith raid challenging, they've added so many mechanics and they've added so many problems that now they're having to nerf characters because of the Sith raid. And this has been a problem. We've seen this before. I mean, at some point, they're going to have to say enough is enough. And they're just going to have to let it go, because constantly having to nerf and fix characters around the Sith raid, and I get it's the current raid, so I get why they want to do it, but at some point, it just gets kind of annoying seeing characters constantly get reworked because they are causing unintended consequences with the Sith raid. So I think at some point CG needs to just put its foot down and say, nope, we're not reworking around the Sith raid anymore, we're just going to let it go. Because now we're talking the Sith raid has been out for over a month, or for over a year, and I think it's time to just let things go. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments, what do you all think about the problems they brought up with the HK-47 and Huckleberry Finn? Do you think that we are going to have some problems with that? What do you guys think? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you are going to say, why not just stack tenacity in phase 3? But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later.